interesting. Nice take. How does a Scrum Master resolve conflicts between teams? So this is an interesting one. We're not talking about within a team. Bob and Dave have both got great ideas and it's all getting a bit hot under the collar. But actually, conflict does arise between teams. Maybe they think each other should be doing part of it, or, of course, things have gone wrong and they're trying to pass the buck. So how do we manage that? It's, to be honest, the teams bit is a little bit of a red herring in this. Conflict isn't between teams, it's between the people. Okay, so what we've got to do is go back down to the people level and work with them. What is it the people in Team A think happened, and what is it that people in Team B think happened? And do we have a conflict? So step one for me in any conflict resolution is always, do we actually have a conflict here? Or do we have a misunderstanding? They're just not quite aligned in words or thinking. They both agree on the core of it, but there's a little bit around the edges that's causing friction rather than real conflict. I'm not even talking about throwing chairs here, but they're starting to get their backs up. So what I'm going to do is understand the situation, probably separately. I'm not going to get them in a room just yet. I'm going to go and talk to them and say, okay, you teams aren't getting on. They're likely aware of it if we're turning up and having them a chat. Okay, what's going on? Okay, how did we get here? And I'm going to want to walk with them through the timeline to understand their context, to understand their perception of events. Okay, we're going to do that with one team, we're going to do that with another team. And hopefully what you're going to see is people are not seeing the whole picture, because very often we forget that we don't see everything. We see 100% of what we do. And as a team, we see 100% of what we as a team do and what we achieve. But we only see a small fraction of what's happening outside of that area. It's only where we interact with them and their doing happens to coincide with our doing. And it's easy to forget it because obviously we're the center of the world. So actually just in doing this and getting them to explore the space on their own, having talked to the other party, we can then also go back to them and maybe get them to explore what they think was happening. Okay? Once we have that, if there is actually genuinely friction, a conflict still going on, and to be honest, that deals with most of it in my experience, we do need to get them talking. And this may be the whole team, feeling a little bit like West Side Story when you're thinking like that, but get everybody on a call, get everybody in a room and say, okay, we need to have this out. We need to have this conversation. What I want to do is help you both understand where each side is coming from, what's happening in their world, what's the things that you can't see that therefore you can't appreciate have happened. Okay? And I'm a big fan of using non-violent communication, about getting people to think about yourself. Okay, I observed this. I saw this happen. Yeah, and very often they'll agree this is a factual statement. It's just an observation of what's happening. I saw this thing happen. Okay, and that made me feel this way. I'm uncertain. I don't understand why you were doing that. Okay, this is about me. And what's really interesting when we start introducing things like non-violent communication is it's very hard to get upset at what somebody understands or doesn't understand or what they feel, because, well, I have to project onto you to tell you what you understood or what you felt. So actually, I tend to just hear it and go, okay, I kind of get where you come from. And if getting them to just understand each other's positions and, that early bypass that I talked about a moment ago, this is the next cutout. This gets rid of pretty much everything that's left. Is just getting people to hear the other side, actually hear it. Take away all the emotional language, take away any aggression, and just say, we were doing this, this went wrong, and therefore I was late. Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't know that thing had gone wrong. All right. How do we move forward? Most people are decent. Most people want to help out. And by placing that in the open, actually I find a lot of conflict dissolves. If, however, in talking about what I as one team experienced, the other team dismiss it, or don't care it, we're going to have to go into proper sort of conflict resolution mode. And we're going to have to start getting people to explore the space and understand where each other is coming from and what potential there is, okay, for resolving that conflict. Hopefully there is some. There very often is. In fact, I can't think of a time where there hasn't been, because we aren't talking about the incredibly serious stuff. I mean, if we're talking, the things that start wars, it's probably not happening within your team, or at least I hope not. We're going to be talking about, we said we'd have this done and it isn't done on time. And another team has now missed it because they had a dependency on your work and they're in trouble because of stuff you didn't do. Okay. That happened. Is it bad? Yeah. Did they want to? Probably not. Nobody wants to be in this situation. Getting people to understand that and saying, well, let's focus on moving forward. How do we get out of here? Okay, so Team B, you're backs to a wall because Team A didn't deliver on a thing you were dependent on in the time they said they would, right? You're up against it. You need to. Okay, well, how do we collectively move forwards? What's the best thing we can do? Is it shout at each other and start pointing fingers and end up with senior leaders in a conversation about how to manage you? Okay, and that will probably involve some report writing and emails and talking to people who nobody wants to go down that route. Or we could take some time and work out, how do we support Team A in delivering the thing that you're dependent on, and Team A, how do you support Team B in getting them, because you are part of what led them to have their back against the wall for them to be in trouble. How do we do that? What is it that we as an intelligent group of people can do to move forwards? And what I've found is actually by rephrasing it, by recrafting things to look forwards. Talk to people about, how do we take this? Where do we go next? Not how did we get here? Okay, we accept it. We're here. It's a thing. It's not a fun thing. At least it's an understandable thing, I hope. Let's focus on moving forward. It's very much part of the coaching philosophy of looking forward. How do we take action with accountability? Team A, you dropped the ball for whatever reason. It's understandable. It was dropped. How do you help Team B in this situation? Team B, you're not happy. That's also understandable. How do you help Team A in this situation? What can we do? Even if it is just back off a bit. What can we do together to move forwards? Invariably focusing on that rather than the conflict is a huge part of the game. If you've got to this point in the video, I hope you've enjoyed it. If so, a like would be appreciated. If you want to hear more from me, more answers to questions that maybe you've got in the Agile world, please subscribe to the channel. And if you've got a question that you really want answered, drop it in the comments. I promise we'll get around to it. Thank you.